Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, May the 1st. Mayday, Brad May. Still remember that call from the great Rick Jenneret, rest in peace. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Matt Robinson in the house for a huge Thursday. One of the most exciting and anticipated nights of Stanley Cup playoff hockey that I can remember. 4 elimination games, 4 game sixes. Already that would be exciting enough. And then you add on to the fact that obviously we scheduled this Patreon exclusive live betcast for tonight, last weekend, and it was Saturday when we agreed we're going to make it Thursday this week. It's later in the week. It's just best for everybody. We had no idea how many games there were going to be. We thought maybe there'd even just be maybe one game at one point on this Thursday night betcast. But sure enough, we have 4 game 6 elimination games, making this one hell of a night to have a Patreon exclusive live betcast. So make sure you're there. Be there with us tonight, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time for our Patreon exclusive Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast. This is our second one that we have done here in the playoffs, and the only way to be a part of it is to sign up at patreon.com/iceguys, $10 per month. Again, that's where you can be to join us on the betcast and watch it live throughout the night. And again, goalie charts, totals charts, all the bonus content available there as well. Daily betting, card sides, totals, player props, and access to all our Patreon exclusive Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast the rest of the postseason. So make sure you're there. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. What a night to have a betcast. 4 game sixes, 4 elimination games. Cannot wait for that. Last night, of course, in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, we had 3 games, and we had handshake lines in 2 of the 3 series last night. We start with Washington and Montreal. One hell of a season for the Montreal Canadiens. Let's start there. I know Washington's the big story. They're the team that is advancing, but let's give the Montreal Canadiens credit. This has been a resurgent season for them. They are way ahead of schedule. This was a team that was not expected to even make the playoffs this year, still in the midst of their rebuild. And to see just the development and the rapid growth of a lot of their young players this year, I think the captain, even though he's been here for a while now, Nick Suzuki's taken a big step forward. You saw, ups and downs for Juraj Slafkovsky, but a lot of bright signs from him in the first round series. Cole Caulfield obviously continues to be that elite goal scorer, sniper for this Montreal team. You saw what Lane Hudson has done in a rookie season for the ages, as far as just his ability to see the ice, set up his teammates, facilitate. Outstanding stuff from him. Just the effort and the continued improvement of a guy like Sam Montembeault, the goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens, and just so much youth coming down the pipe. Ivan Demidov getting a sniff in the NHL down the stretch, which is only going to bode well for him, in his career, that he got a little taste of the regular season and, of course, a first-round Stanley Cup playoff series. So it's just been a fun team to watch, exciting, and they've got all these young players that have been integrated already into this year's team, and that's just a tip of the iceberg. You go look at that prospect pipeline right now for the Montreal Canadiens. They've got so much more on the way for this team in the years to come, as far as real bona fide potential, big-time NHL talents at the next level in their prospect system. So it is going to be a team that is just, in my opinion, going to keep getting better and more dangerous, and they will probably be, they're already in the playoffs, way ahead of schedule. They could be a year-in, year-out contender as early as next year, and certainly in 2 years from now. No question about that, with where they're at as a franchise and an organization right now. Obviously, look, they ran up against a Washington team that just a little more experienced, a little more depth, a little bit sturdier defensively, the Washington Capitals, and a goaltender that was, let's be honest, how good was fucking Logan Thompson in this series? Fantastic. Absolutely spectacular. Unreal. He certainly silenced anybody that was worried about his second half where he was a little not nearly as sharp and kind of had some wobbles there late in the regular season. Well, he certainly silenced that. He was absolutely phenomenal in this series. Not like Montreal didn't have chances. Montreal played their asses off, and they played Montreal tough, or they played Washington tough competitively in this series. But Washington ends up winning it in 5. Everybody contributed. I thought last night was Ovechkin's best game of the series. He was all over the place. Fitting that Tom Wilson has a hand in putting Montreal away with a power play goal last night. And of course, obviously, Jacob Chikrin on the blue line had a really strong series. You look at Dylan Strome, what an awesome series he had. 2 more assists last night for him in the win. They get Alexei Protas back, and that's what's brilliant for this Washington team moving forward as they get to play Carolina in the second round. They get Protas back, and they got him a game under his belt already to end that Montreal series. So he's going to at least have, shake off a little bit of that rust already before they play game 1 against Carolina. But the Capitals, man, I did have concerns. This was a red-hot Montreal team. This was a Washington team that played uninspired, lethargic hockey down the stretch. It felt like they were playing more to get Ovechkin his record rather than play their best hockey. My biggest concern was, could they flip the switch? Switch was flipped. And they're now looking like the team that they looked like in October, November, all the way through the first half of the season when they really dominated, the Eastern Conference. So Washington's got that. They're right back on the grid again as a legit Stanley Cup threat. No question about that. And now they move on to take on the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round. We say goodbye to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And look, Florida was just better, deeper, better defensively. And let's be honest, Sergei Bobrovsky, flat out better than Andrei Vasilevsky in this series. It really is that simple. More opportunistic. Florida's better players were better than Tampa's. I can't describe to you how just awful, borderline awful Nikita Kucherov was in this series. He had 3 assists in the big Tampa win that they had, the 5-1 win in Game 3. And other than that, you couldn't find him with a telescope in this series. He had 1 point other than that. He didn't score a goal in this series. And I'm glad they brought up on the broadcast, and AJ Malesko did that working with Bob Wischusen last night, saying, we know he's a great passer, and we know he's incredible vision, and he is just a great playmaker. But at some point, you need the guy to score a goal. You do. You need him to score goals for you at some point in a playoff series if you're going to win. And Nikita Kucherov could not do that. I thought Braden Point was okay, not great. I thought the only guy, the big 3 on their top line that played a really good series was Jake Gensel for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And even that, it wasn't enough. I thought Point was okay, not great. And Kucherov, I thought, was not good at all in that series for Tampa Bay. I feel bad for Nick Paul. He had a great game last night. Cashed my bargain bin special. Plus 500, one final time with Nick Paul this year, but it was just not enough. Not good enough on the back end to see Florida play, and that's what's scary about Florida. They didn't have Ekblad last night with the suspension. Their D was banged up a little bit. Hagel was a big loss. It's a great point, Joe. There's no doubt they missed him as well, Tampa. But Tampa finally gets their power play going a little bit. They score some goals. What did they get to? 3 last night? And you think, wow, we finally get to 3 goals against this great Florida defense. Gives us a great chance to win, but then Florida goes and scores all the goals they do against you last night. 6 in the end in that 6-3 win. That's what's scary about the Panthers. They can win a 2-1, 3-1 game. They can win a 6-3 game. They can score. They can shut it down. They have good special teams. That's what makes them dangerous, just like they were last year and just like they were 2 years ago, getting to back-to-back Cup finals. So credit to the Florida Panthers and Paul Maurice. They're in the mix to win another Stanley Cup, no question, with what I saw in that series, and they get it done. And a lot of decisions coming up for Tampa Bay. I think you got to rejig things a little bit. You don't blow it up, but you got to rejig things a little bit going into next season. I don't think you can come back with the exact roster, and I don't think the fan base is going to be happy with that. John Cooper's future, what's going to happen with that? He's been here a very long time, and it's been a lot of success. Does Tampa want a new voice for the team behind the bench? Does John Cooper want a new opportunity to explore at this point in his career? That's something certainly to monitor moving forward. And then we wrapped up the night with St. Louis, Winnipeg. Credit to the Jets. I thought the team was awesome last night, except for the goalie. I don't think the goalie played that great. Hellebuck gives up another suspect goal. The good news is Winnipeg's team defense was really strong. They held the Blues to just 19 shots on goal, 9 in the first 2 periods. Yeah, St. Louis pressed a little bit in the third, but Winnipeg was opportunistic. Kyle Connor, Dylan DeMello, Vlad Nemestikov, who was great filling in for Mark Scheifele on that line when he got injured and left the game, and Adam Lowry into the empty net. We mentioned keep betting his goal props. Obviously, the big news, the big storyline coming out of this game was that Mark Scheifele was targeted. There's no doubt. Like St. Louis was knocking him down at every opportunity in the first round, looking to target him. And look, they took him out. They really did. They took him out of the game. And Scott Arniel already said today he's not even traveling with the Winnipeg Jets team to St. Louis for Game 6. So he's out. He's not going to play Friday night. And they targeted him. But they targeted him with good, hard, solid hits. I mean, I don't think anything was overly flagrant. Obviously, that could have been a call on Braden Shen. That was some kind of hit, man. Braden Shen laid on Mark Scheifele. We've seen all the replays now. That certainly could have been penalized. But at the end of the day, this is the playoffs, man. If you want to win, you've got to go after the best players on the other team.
Yep.
Mark Scheifele is one of the best players on the Winnipeg Jets, and they went after him physically. They didn't want to injure him. They didn't want to have him to leave the game, but you want to make those marks and soften him up a little bit. And when you take that many hits, you're weaker as a player. And I think that was the goal. And unfortunately for Mark Scheifele and the Jets, he gets injured after all those body checks and all those hits he took in the first period. That's playoff hockey, man. I got not much of a problem with any of it. I mean, Scott, I get why Arniel was livid that there was no penalty on the Shen one. That looked like it could have easily been 2 minutes for roughing or interference. No question.
Right.
But, in terms of, they got to lay off and not play that way. St. Louis is a playoffs, man. Tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye. You're trying to win a Stanley Cup. Not time for this patty cake nonsense and soft ass bullshit. You got to play physical. And I'm okay with that. It wasn't like they need him in their elbow to the head or something. It isn't like they, plowed him from behind into the boards, with a cross check. That's just hard ass physical hockey. And it's unfortunate he gets injured, but that's the way it is. It sucks, but I don't think it was because of anything dirty, quite honestly, in that game last night. But the Blues, obviously, credit to Winnipeg. They had to win at home. It felt like they might have lost that series if they didn't win last night. And now we'll see if St. Louis can keep the home team trend going. And if road Connor Hellebuck can finally step to the plate and play well away from home. And it has been years since Connor Hellebuck's had a good road start. That's why I think this series is going 7 in the end. Alex, what do you think of last night?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, in the 2 instances where we saw the series end, you're seeing, like you said, teams that are built for the playoffs growing to become more dangerous, especially like I said, when you talk about Washington getting Alexei Protas back in the lineup, guys getting healthier for Florida. That team was when they're fully healthy and fully loaded, they're as dangerous as anybody. Like I said, they can play any style of hockey you want. You want to play 2-1 and muck it up and get dirty along the boards and in the corners, they can do that. You want to run and gun and play a 7-6 shootout, they can do that as well. And that's what makes them dangerous. And you can say the same for Washington as well. When you have a guy like Logan Thompson in net, that opens up everything at both ends of the ice for you. It lets the defenseman, free up and move the puck up, and lets the forwards fly, and they can get those shots rolling. We know how when everything's driven offensively, when that pace and tempo is in possession of Washington, it's just as dangerous as anybody as well. So 2 good teams out of the East advancing, and then like you said, you look at Winnipeg and St. Louis. That's the nature of playoff hockey. You have to play physical. You have to weather the storm of the bumps and bruises. There's going to be calls that are going to be missed. There's going to be hits that seem a bit dodgy that may not be called for penalties. But at the end of the day, it's just who can withstand that storm. And like I said, it wasn't a malicious, targeting as far as trying to injure Scheifele and get him out of this series. But if that happens to take place when you hit a guy multiple times and he gets weakened and you knock him out, then so be it. That's just the way that goes. Now it's next man up for the Jets, and that's the way it goes. If it was in reverse, it had to be the same thing for St. Louis as well. So, like I said, I didn't see anything wrong with the hits. It's been a physical series, and it's going to continue to be a physical series in Game 6, or if there's a Game 7 as well.
Matt, your thoughts on last night?
Not too much to add. I think that Montreal-Washington game, It just got to the point, I think Washington was the better team in the long run. Great season for Montreal, great steps forward. They've got a lot of young talent. So I think the optimistic interview with Marty after the game is the sign that anyone would expect. Tough feeling last night, but good things ahead for that program. Florida, Tampa, we talked about a little pregame show. Was bummed with how Tampa, wasn't able to get it done, at least in game 5, push some pressure onto Florida, despite the home ice advantage. Maybe it just wasn't their year to make a run. Obviously a dynasty program. A lot of those guys have been there through those cups. Florida's a good team. One of those two teams could have been in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Cup Finals. Both of those teams could have been in the finals if things went their way. So just one of those series where one team that is going to be out in the first round is a good team. So was a little bummed with the result. Would have loved a Game 7 Florida series, but it is what it is. And then didn't catch too much of the late game between St. Louis and Winnipeg. Obviously not being an elimination game, I knew there'd at least be Game 6 coming up. Now with Winnipeg trying to close it out in St. Louis, but without Scheifele, it looks like he's not even traveling. So I think that's a big hit to Winnipeg. And sort of as Alex mentioned, when you're playing a team, a good player like that, the goal is to wear him down. And if you can quote unquote injure somebody, but it not be an illegal hit, it's just from fatigue or being hit after hit, that's the point of the playoffs. It's the point of a series. As a fan of a team that could potentially line up with either of these teams, I want these teams to beat the shit out of each other, of course. I hope it goes 7. I hope it's a bloodbath. But no, all in all, it was a pretty good game. It seemed like St. Louis kind of hung around, but Winnipeg kind of just put their foot on the gas. Hellebuck had a slow start. I think he gave up one of his first 2 shots against, and then he played pretty well after that. So it'll be an interesting Game 6. Can Winnipeg, break the curse of the road? Can Hellebuck play a good game on the road? It's interesting. We'll get into tonight's game in a little bit. Alex has a viewpoint on it. But this is a series that I do think could go 7. I think St. Louis can get it done at home, and then we might have a Game 7. I believe that game would be on Sunday.
Sunday.
But yep. But yeah, overall pretty good night. And then obviously 4 big potential elimination games tonight. So we'll see how those go.
All right, let's get into it. We got 4 great games tonight, all on our BetCast. I can't wait for this BetCast, man. The fridge is stocked. It's going to be a fun-ass night. It is. And it'll be even better if we win some live bets and do well with those. But it's going to be a real fun BetCast tonight. We hope to see you on Patreon. And it begins with the Battle of Ontario, which this was 3-0 for Toronto at one point. It's now 3-2, and the pressure has shifted to the team that is 1-13 in their last 14 series clinching games, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ottawa -115 home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. The concerning part about the Leafs is that even when they lost Game 4, and for the first game in the series that they lost, and it ended up, and it was 3-1 after that game, the Leafs still had played a pretty good game in every game. Game 1, they were excellent. Game 2, they played pretty good. Game 3, they played pretty good. Game 4, even though they lost, they outshot the Senators and had a bunch of chances. They had the 4-minute power play in overtime, and they played pretty well. You cannot say that about Toronto in Game 5. That looked like a team that definitely played worse. Their worst game of the series. The core was nowhere to be found. They all played terrible, in my opinion. Matthews, Marner, Nylander, they were awful in that Game 5, getting shut out 4-0 on home ice. And again, an opportunity where Toronto's got a chance to end a series on home ice, put their foot down on the throat, and they could not do it. And not only did they not do it, it's not like you scored 3 goals and you lost in overtime, 4-3, and a chance to close out a team at home. You got shut out. You got outplayed, and your stars were nowhere to be found in that game. That's what made it worse. That's why it looked a hell of a lot worse than you would think. And that's why all the demons and all the questions about, is this Toronto team ready to finally be different this year in the postseason, coming around again? And I'm sure they've heard it the last 2 days. 1-13 in closeout games. This 0-for-30 on the power play stat in clinching games since 2018 is mind-boggling. How you can fall ass backwards into one power play goal in 30 tries, especially when you've got Matthews and Marner and Nylander and all these great offensive players on your team. And they haven't even been able to do that. So it's a mental block. That's what they call this. When you've had years of losing, years of coming up short, years of giving away leads and not closing out series, that's what this is, a mental block. And it is up for Toronto to overcome it. And there's only one way they're overcoming it. This is not about whether Stolarz plays great tonight. Yes, it's important, but it's not about him. It's not about Chris Tanev. It's not about Jake McCabe. It's not about Bobby McMahon. It's not about Scott Lawton or Callie Yarncroke on the fourth line. This is about Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and even Morgan Riley, who's the longest tenured Leaf on this team. This is about those guys bringing it, playing good, making an impact, getting the job done in a game like this. That's what it's about. It falls on that group. Simple. We're not going to blame Tanev or guys like that if they lose this series. No, the blame's going to be on the big core, to be able to get the job done. I've really been on trying to follow and get a read here of what we're seeing from Toronto. The media seems to think they look focused, very dialed in the morning skate today. Now, whether that means a damn thing, we'll have to wait and see. I've seen this before. But the bottom line is, I find if you're the Leafs, and you've got to win it here, because I think you're losing the series if this goes back to Toronto for Game 7. Because their record in Game 7s or at home, and just their record in elimination games at home, it's even worse. So I think this is almost important. This is almost like season over for Toronto if they lose. It's obviously season over for Ottawa if they lose. It feels like it could be season over for Toronto, if they lose this game, because you want to take them into Game 7 at home if they lose tonight? I don't know about that. I will take Toronto to score the first goal of the first period, because if they are going to do this and get this job done, to me, there's not a chance that they win this game if they fall behind. Not a chance. They need a strong start. They need the first goal of the hockey game and finally put some of that pressure back on this young Ottawa group for a change. And finally, maybe they're going to feel a little bit, of pressure. That's what's important. I'm going to take it FanDuel at plus money, the Toronto goal, first goal of the first period. I will take that. I'm also on, of course, Toronto to score a goal in the first period in this game, laying a price with that. But it's been a successful angle in the postseason. I think it was 2-1 last night. Tampa scored a goal in the first period off a loss. Winnipeg scored a first period a goal off a loss. The only one that didn't was Montreal. And I said yesterday on the show, if you can check it, that's the team I was concerned about, scoring a goal in the first period. I think Toronto gets on the board in the first period. I'm on the over by Fecta here. System play number 1 is back, folks. It's 2-0 in the playoffs. Team off a shutout loss. The first period over and the full game over is cashed in the next game both times. When Dallas was off a shutout loss against Colorado, first period over, full game over, cashed the next game. Tampa Bay was shut out 2-0 by the Florida Panthers early in their series. First period over, full game over, cashed in that game. So we're 2-0 with this angle again. Now, this angle was just money in the bank until the Four Nations break. And then in the Four Nations break, it fell off so badly and it was so terrible, the system play after Four Nations, that I stopped tracking it. That's how bad it was going. But here in the playoffs, we've seen it twice. Teams off a shutout loss, and we've seen the first period over, full game over, cash both times. So I'm on that tonight, first period over, full game over. I'm also on third period over and empty net goal pregame in all 4 games tonight. So I'm not even going to mention it in the next games. Write it down or keep it in the back of your mind, because I'm not saying it again after this. Third period over 2, empty net goal in the plus 115, plus 120 range for all of these games tonight. And if you can even go one step further and take the team that is facing elimination to get that empty net goal. So in this case, it would be Ottawa. In the next game, it would be Minnesota. In the game after that, it would be Colorado. And of course, after that, LA. But I'm just going with empty net goal at plus money rather than diving in extra for the big plus money. Alex did that, though, and I credit him for it. He did it with Washington last night, and obviously it came through. Alex, Battle of Ontario, Game 6, Toronto, Ottawa.
Yeah, and all the pressure in the world is on the team wearing blue and white. And having to go on the road might be a better thing for them, honestly, at this point, because at least you're getting booed.
There'll be a lot
but
of
at
Leaf
least
fans still, as always,
there'll
in
be a lot of
Ottawa,
Leaf
and they're
fans
always
too.
loud. Yeah,
And they're always loud, but it'll be. I think it'll just be a little bit different than if you were at home and you're hearing those home boos like you heard in the last game. That I'm sure that rings differently. But like I said, they have to just play relaxed, play focused, play their game. That's the thing. Once you are on the ice, once the puck drops, once the anthems are done, play your game. Get back to playing your game, something they haven't done in the last, like I said, 5, 6, 7 periods. They can do that. They should be able to take care of Ottawa fairly easily. I like the first period over at even money, of course, because it's a betcast night. Playing that small, adding on to it. Same thing with the full game over. So over by Fecta, playing small pregame and adding on to it. I do like the Toronto first goal in the first period. Look, I got plus 135 at BetMGM. I think MGM and FanDuel have relatively similar prices for that market. So if you have either book, you can go to either one of those shops. And I'm also looking at empty net goal. I got plus 110. Leafs to score an empty net goal plus 330. And the over 2. I got that at even money. I did not go with the over 2.5 in this game. Like I said, because I'm just going to be looking for stuff in game with the betcast tonight. So just pregame over 2 in the third period to go with the empty net goal. Also go with the Leafs to get that empty net goal and the over by Fecta, which we'll be adding on more in game. I think Toronto wins and advances here.
It was a good night, by the way, for the empty net goal props. Look at last night. Empty net goal in all 3 games last night. Montreal, Washington, Tampa, Florida, and Winnipeg, St. Louis. You got an empty net goal and all, and you're getting plus money in all 3 games, a plus price for that. So definitely, I'm on that tonight. Empty net goal, all 4 games at a plus price. Matt, what do you think here? Toronto, Ottawa, Game 6.
Gonna keep it pretty simple with this one. I like the over by Fecta. I completely agree that all the pressure is on Toronto. If Ottawa loses this game 5-0 in a week, you won't even remember how they lost. That they lost. They're kind of just happy to be there, and I don't think they're out of it, which is even better. But yeah, I think all the pressure's on Toronto. I think Ottawa will try and play loose, play good early. If Ottawa takes a 1-0 lead, it's gonna be panic time on the Leafs bench. So, but I think both teams want to score early, kind of get rolling. So that's why I like at least over 1.5 in the first, and then I could see this, being a 4-2 type game, one way or the other. So I like both overs, and that's pretty much it for me. I think Toronto can get it done. I think every game that goes by, it's going to make things worse, and they know that. So I would expect their big guns to step up. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Ottawa wins. So it's sort of a tough one for me on sides or anything like that. So just an over by Fecta for me.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. If you like Ottawa tonight, screw this money line. Don't take this money line. Take them to win the series. Yep. Plus 300.
DraftKings, I think DraftKings plus 320 was the best price I saw available. I use Odds Checker to try and check the different sites. Plus 320 should be the best price you can get for Ottawa to win the series.
Yeah, that's what you do. If you think Ottawa wins tonight, you don't bet them tonight on the money line in Game 6. You take them to win the series because they're going to have a great chance to win this series, in my opinion, if they win tonight. Because like Game 7, Toronto at home, I've seen it a million times. I don't like their chances if it gets there.
You can copy paste that for all 4 games tonight. If you like the team that's trailing 3-2, it makes sense to have something in pocket for them to win the series, because you're going to get a better price. You're going to get a better price on the money line betting that than you will for anything you bet on Game 7.
Yeah, I like the Artem Zub block. I agree. Artem Zub's been blocking a lot of shots, and more as the series has gone on for Ottawa. on the blue line. So that makes a lot of sense. Simone Benoit, man, I've talked about his block shots prop for the Leafs. It's 5 straight now. He's gone over 1.5 blocked shots. Sanderson over 1.5, 3 in a row. Finally, Christopher Tanev, two in a row. He's gone over 2.5 blocked shots. That's the Tanev we know. I think tonight in a must-win, it feels like a must-win. I am saying it's a must-win game for Toronto, even though they still have Game 7 if they lose tonight. I think that's how important it is. Shots on goal. Tavares, 3 straight games over 2.5 shots. I like it. Hungry, nice. Goal prop and over shots. 1.5. He's gone over his shot prop 2 in a row. Max Pacioretty going to the second line, moving up. Berube moving him up to the second line with Nylander tonight and Tavares. So Max Pacioretty is going to be in the top 6. There's probably value on his shot prop. And he went over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games, Max Pacioretty. And now he's going to be on the second line. So that's phenomenal value. And if you actually look going back to the regular season, Max Pacioretty has gone over 1.5 shots on goal 9 of his last 10 games. And now he's going to be on the second line. So I definitely think Max Pacioretty, the over 1.5 shots would be something to consider. Tkachuk's a shooting machine, must-win game for Ottawa. Could see his shot prop being worth a look. 4-game point streak for Tkachuk. Stützle, 2-game point streak. Dylan Cousins is streaky. Him to get a goal, assist, or point, I could see for the Ottawa Senators here tonight in this game. But yeah, there you go. Those are the main props. There's no Leaf player I know I like better as far as a goal, assist, or point than Nyes. I know this is supposed to be a night where we're supposed to trust Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, but like I said, it's not always easy to trust them in these kind of games. This is a big, like I said, here's another opportunity for the Leafs to change the reputation and the narrative. Let's see if they can finally step up and do it. All right, next up, we've got Vegas and Minnesota. Vegas minus 165, road favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. This is the 7:30 p.m. Eastern game, half an hour after the Toronto-Ottawa game starts. If you ask me right now, which team do you think's got the best chance, or the team, not the best chance, I guess they all have a pretty good chance. They all have a chance. It's which team individually, and it's all subjective, do you think has the best chance to stand up and force Game 7? And I think it's this team right here, the Minnesota Wild. I think Minnesota's played very good in this series. They could have won Game 1, fell just short. They dominated Game 2 in Vegas. They ended up coming back home to Minnesota, winning Game 3. They lost a heartbreaker in overtime in Game 4 against Vegas. Otherwise, they're up 3-1 in this series. They're that close, Minnesota, to being up 3-1 in this series. And then they go back to Vegas, and Ryan Hartman's got what looks like the game-winning, or at least go-ahead, and potential game-winning goal, 3-2 in the final minute, and Vegas challenges for offside, which was the right challenge. It was a great challenge. It comes off the board, and then Vegas wins in overtime with Brett Howden. I mean, you flip a couple of those games, Minnesota in Game 4 instead of losing it, Minnesota in Game 5 instead of losing it, Wild could have won this series already, honestly. And instead, they're down 3-2 right now. Vegas certainly could. Look, we have seen Minnesota's season in the playoffs and multiple times here at XL Energy Center. So that wouldn't shock me, but we're talking about value. We're talking about the price point. And the price point to me is still off. Minnesota has played better in this series than being deserving, in my opinion, of a plus 145 home underdog price. That's where I'm at in this game, because to me, Vegas has not been that dominant over this Minnesota Wild team. Now, of course, the big scenario that we saw play out in Game 5 was suddenly the illness to Philip Gustafsson. He left the game. Marc-Andre Fleury had to come in, and he played very solid. He had no chance on the Brett Howden goal. The big news is, are we going to see Gustafsson tonight? And it appears he will be good to go, coming off that illness that forced him out of Game 5 in the third period. So it looks like Gustafsson will be in net. Obviously, Aiden Hill goes for Vegas. This is Minnesota for me, plus 145, and I'm not big on the draws tonight, but this one I did take the draw. I think this is the one game that's got the best chance for some overtime here tonight with the Golden Knights and the Wild. So Minnesota plus 145. I'm on the draw as well in this game for a small bet. And I'm back on the over by Fecta. The first period overs cashed in every game in this series. Full game over had cashed in every game until Game 5, but it's still 4-1. So you're looking at 5-0 first period over, 4-1 full game over in this series. I'm back on that as well. And the big news for Vegas is Dorofeyev's absence. Dorofeyev, Dorofeyev is out for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. And that, it's one of their better goal scorers this season with the year he's had. So that's a significant absence. There'd be some line shuffling. It looks like Carlson, Eichel, and Stone as of now going to be your top line. Saad, Hurdle, and Olofsson on the second line for the Vegas Golden Knights. This is fluid. Maybe it does change, but that's what we're looking at right now is the top six. Barbashev, Waugh, and Riley Smith, third line. Pearson, Howden, Kolasar, fourth line. But, absolutely will miss Dorofeyev because he's just got that lethal shot that could be a difference maker in an elimination game such as this. Alex, what do you think here? Game 6, Vegas, Minnesota, just down the road.
Yeah, just right up the street here. It's a big-time game. And I've seen many upon many of a big-time game that's taken place at XL Energy Center. And the home team just simply has not come through more times than often.
Even with the way they played in this series, you don't trust them.
Even with the way that they play in this series. And like you said, the breaks have gone Vegas's way. This series could have been over in favor of Minnesota. And certainly, like you said, when you look at that Ryan Hartman goal, what seemed to be a clean goal, Toronto was reviewing it first, and they said it was good, and then comes the challenge, and then you see the offsides. You just go, it's just typical Minnesota playoff activity. It's just one of those things that
heartbreak
happens to a lot of teams.
Cruelty. Yeah.
But it constantly happens to Minnesota. And when you see things break that way, if you saw it, I knew from that point on that game was over. That was Vegas's game to have. As soon as that call went the opposite way. And you'll see tonight, there'll be tons of energy. That place is going to be rocking and rolling at the very beginning. I would look for Minnesota to score first. I like both teams to score and first period over, so I do have that. But
first period goal, Minnesota. I shouldn't even have to say it, but I am on Minnesota first period goal.
Minnesota to score in the first period. Both teams to score in the first period over. But eventually, I think Vegas will turn the tide in the second period, and then this game will just get out of hand in the third. So this is one where I have empty net goal, yes, plus 110. Vegas to score the empty net goal, plus 270. Over 2 minus $1.10, and over 2.5 at plus 155. All those are available at BetMGM. So I think it'll be handshakes, and hopefully Jack Eichel will be at Grand 7 enjoying his free beer.
All right, there we go. Hopefully, yeah, exactly. And we'll see if Vegas can close out and add another sad ending to a Minnesota Wild season in front of their home fans in a first-round playoff series. I know Dallas has been ending their season in Minnesota before, so it's a great segue to Matt here with Vegas and Minnesota.
This one will, I think this will be interesting. I could see it kind of going both ways. I think there is some value on Minnesota potentially pushing a game 7. I don't know if I have the confidence in them, given how the series has sort of completely flipped into Vegas's momentum. We've talked about it on the show, game-to-game momentum, maybe not as aggressive as, in-game momentum, obviously a shift, a goal, things like that. But I do think, when you're a Minnesota team, they were playing really well. They take the series lead 2-1 and then let 2 in a row slip. The doubt starts to creep in. Similar to that Toronto game, I think the pressure's on Minnesota. Vegas is a proven team. Vegas probably feels they can win game 7 at home if they got there. I think it's up to Minnesota, and the pressure is going to lie on them. But I do like a first period over. I think there's going to be some quick goals in this one. And then I think it may slow down. I think 5.5, I'd still take the over. But I think, it could be a 2-1, 2-2 type first, and then maybe end 4-3, something like that. So 4-2 on an empty net. So I think it tightens up a bit, but I think early Minnesota is going to have the jump, the energy. Vegas is going to try and weather that storm and score something themselves. So just a first period over for me, maybe something live, but yeah, pregame, I could go either way on this one as well. I think, that's kind of the theme for all 4 games tonight. I could make a case for an extension into game 7, and I could also make a case for teams getting it done in 6. So
I will say this as far as a live betting angle for the betcast tonight. If we do get both teams to score in this game, I will certainly be all over Vegas to score first goal in second period.
Yeah, All right, there you go. In case both teams get on the board early, there you go. Alex eyeing Vegas in the second period to get on the board. With Dorofeyev out, and that's I know we mentioned this, a bunch of us amongst us talking about it. Jack Eichel's probably going to be more of a shooter tonight. And so, yeah, I don't mind the shot prop for Eichel, over 2.5. Remember, he finally is starting to heat up in that department. 3 games in a row now, he's gone over 2.5 shots on goal. Again, he likes to pass a lot of the time, set up his teammates. But again, without a bona fide goal scorer like Dorofeyev, that could put Eichel in a spot to shoot the puck more tonight. So, yeah, the over 2.5 shots. Boldy's gone over 2.5 shots 3 straight games. Here's one that's a little under the radar. Noah Hannafin for Vegas. 4 straight games over 1.5 shots on goal for him entering tonight. He's been firing that puck quite a bit from the blue line for the Golden Knights. So there's a little something to keep an eye on here for this game. Point streaks for Zuccarello, Stone, Eichel, and Eriksson Ek. They are on 2-game point streaks entering tonight. I think if Minnesota's going to win in this game and extend this series, there's obviously Kaprizov and Boldy. Boldy's just been remarkable. He's scored goals now. 4 of the 5 games in this series, and is still not a bad price when you consider what he's been able to do with that. So the goal prop again, Kaprizov has to be big. And I like the value still with guys like Hartman and Marcus Foligno. I cashed a bargain bin special earlier in the series with Marcus Foligno, Ryan Hartman. Those are guys that are noticeable. Ryan Hartman could have scored the other night. It got taken away from him with that offside. So I think there's great value still. Ryan Hartman point prop, Foligno point prop, and goal props especially with both of those guys, because you're getting one hell of a great price with both of those guys to find the back of the net for the Minnesota Wild. And what I love is they keep their game simple. They crash the net, they look for traffic, they look for the puck, they look for rebounds, and that's where they make their hay. And sometimes keeping it simple this time of year is great. I mean, you can get Foligno even better price, 10-1 tonight to score a goal for the Minnesota Wild. That's pretty damn good when it's all things considered. And that's not bad at all. Hartman's is plus 220, by the way, Foligno to get a point. Hartman plus 170 to get a point, plus 500 to get a goal. So there truly is great value, both of those.
And I'll explain why there's even better value in maybe betting some of these bottom line guys in elimination games. Say this game gets out of hand and it's 6-2 Vegas after 40. Those guys are going to be skating the bulk of the minutes. Yeah. You probably won't be seeing all the. I'm sure you'll be seeing a ton of Kaprizov and Boldy as well, trying to get back into the game. But if it's well out of hand, those bottom line guys will be getting that garbage time. So 10-1 for a Marcus Foligno in any situation, whether they're playing well or not, is worth a shot.
Yeah, no doubt. So that is definitely going to be something to keep in mind. But this is a great game. Gustafsson and Hill and net. Looking forward to it. And again, Minnesota kind of a mini Toronto and a Winnipeg, if you will, and some of these other teams that have had early playoff exits. Can they change the narrative? Can they change the reputation? That's what Minnesota is going to try to do here. All right, we turn now to the first of the 2 late games on the docket for this exciting night of 4 elimination game 6s. We have Dallas and Colorado. Colorado minus 190 home favorites. 6 the total, shaded to the over. Dallas up 3-2, and the Dallas Stars looking to do what they did last year in the second round, and that's finish off the Colorado Avalanche in 6 games at Ball Arena in Denver. That alone is why I see a lot of people saying, hey, this is going 7. Dallas was able to finish this series last year in Denver in Game 6. They are fully capable of doing it again. And as far as this game goes, from a money line value standpoint, it's Dallas or pass for this better at this price. You are paying a premium for Colorado, minus 190. I get it. I understand why. And the last time they played at Ball Arena in Game 4, Colorado was probably their best game of the series, and it was probably also Dallas's worst game of the series, because it could have been a lot more than 4-0 if not for Jake Ottinger, who was absolutely incredible in the first 2 periods before DeSmith replaced him in the third. They were dominant, Colorado. And if Colorado plays a similar game to Game 4, they're going to win, and they're going to advance to and force Game 7. But you are paying a premium in my mind. And I think a lot of it is because Colorado's been the team leading more often in this series than Dallas. There's games where Dallas was trailing the whole game and they won only because they got it in overtime and they're trailing most of the game. I think that's played a role, that people just see the overall game flow throughout this series. It's been more Colorado than Dallas, even though Colorado's down 3-2 in the series. But you just got to get creative if you're going to take Colorado. I would not advise, if you like Colorado, do other things than taking minus 190 on the money line because you're paying a premium. If you like them that much, take the team total over 3.5. That's the best bet if you like Colorado. Take the team total over 3.5 with that. But here's my concern with that. They're going to have to score 4. You're going to have to trust that this game is kind of a similar paced game to what we saw in game 5 in Dallas, where it did go over in that game, first period and full game. And I remember distinctly what we saw in game 6 last year in the Stanley Cup playoff second round series between these teams. It was an airtight game with Georgiev at the time and Ottinger. It was a 2-1 Dallas win in overtime. It was a extremely well goaltended game. Even Georgiev played well that night. And Ottinger was rock solid. And Ottinger's numbers, games 5 to 7, I know we've referenced it before on this show. They're really good. So this is the one where, I maybe a live over. I have a feeling this could be like one of those 0-0 first periods, honestly, in this game. I just get that sense. It could be like game 3 was. A little slow out of the gate, and then it picks up. Because that was a scoreless first period of game 6 last year in the second round between the Stars and the Avs in Denver at Ball Arena. It was no score, and it ended 2-1 after the first, and it ended 2-1 Dallas in overtime. So I'm not betting any overs pregame. None. I am on Colorado to score in the first period because it's the angle off a loss, obviously, in this one. We're taking that with every game. And that's really all I'm doing pregame. That's it. Colorado goal in the first period here. We're going to see how this goes because I think this first period could go so many different ways. Could be scoreless after the first. The one thing I'd be truly surprised about in the first period is if Dallas leads after that would surprise me, especially with this being a must-win, backs against the wall on home ice spot for Colorado, and knowing they lost to this Dallas team at home in Game 6 last year. They'd better damn well come out guns blazing, Colorado here, and I think they will, but doesn't mean they're going to be leading. Because Jake Ottinger is the kind of guy in these spots later in the series that says, oh, no, you don't. I shut the door in these situations, games 5, 6, and 7 in a series. So this could be 0-0 after one. This could be 1-0 Colorado. Maybe Colorado does blitz them early and get up 2-3-0 after one, potentially. I don't know about that, especially with Ottinger's game 5 to 7 track record. But the one thing I'm sure of is I'm not sure this is going to be an over automatically for the game. So I'm going to only take Colorado to score a goal in the first period, and we'll go from there. If you like Colorado, take team total over 3.5. That's what I would say. And I'm even going to wait for that to see how this game starts before getting in on that. If I kind of sense this could be, Colorado's swarming them, man. They're close, and they get a goal, and then Dallas has to open up the game trailing early, then I might jump on a live Avs team total, and it's going to have to open up, and maybe this is going to be one of those games where the Avalanche, like we saw in game 4, comes to fruition. But this is definitely a good game for the live betcast because I think the early part of this game is so important to how the game flow is going to be. And I think it's hard to pinpoint how that early first 20 minutes is going to go in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Dallas, Colorado.
So now I cashed 2 really large bets, a 7-1 and a plus 200 if Dallas wins this game tonight by way of the 7-game split that I have. Also had series to end in 6 games. So nothing for me on this side. What I will be playing small is Dallas to get an empty net goal because it's plus 475. That's tremendous value. I'll play a little bit more on empty net goal plus 110. And like I said, if I'm seeing Colorado, taking control, having the pace early, we'll try to adjust and grab some things like team total over in game, Colorado to score, goals in game, and just kind of pick things off live. But I'm hoping Dallas can cash this one out tonight. Like I said, it'd be a nice payday. And I think they have that momentum now where they now have to play their best game. You got lucky. You got the overtime wins when you didn't have the lead in those game 2 and game 3. Now it's time to be good. If you can put together an A+ performance, like I said, we've seen Dallas close out a series in this environment, in this exact building. So there shouldn't be any nerves, shouldn't be rattled here in this spot. Like I said, they just have to weather that storm, try to get take the crowd out of it. If anything, Dallas needs to be the team to score first. That's got to be, I'd say, imperative for them. I know that the angle says for Colorado, to score first, but if Dallas is going to win this and win this one handily, they need to take that ball arena crowd out as quickly as they can, get on the board quick too. So maybe, like I said, it's a great game for the betcast. Maybe look for Dallas to score in the first 10 minutes, something of that nature. You can look for Dallas first goal in first period. But this will definitely be a fun one, and I do expect to see goals later in the contest. So this is one where I'm not jumping in on any over pregame either, because it's funny. You see a BetMGM first period over 1.5 minus 130. Second period, you got over 2 at even money, under minus 140. So they're expecting that dip in the second period, which I think we will see too. I think that's where it becomes kind of lockdown defensive battle, and then we see things open back up in the third.
I expect a lot of high volume and shots from Colorado, though. That is what I'm pretty confident in. So Jake Ottinger over saves makes sense. And I'll throw one. This is a shot on goal prop that I think, and I'm starting to dabble again. I'm keeping them small because they pissed me off so much in the past with shot corrections and all that nonsense. And it still does happen every now and then. But I'm getting more into the shots on goal here in the playoffs. If I had to pick my favorite shots on goal prop tonight, it would be, as Mark Moser says, Nathan MacKinnon. Nathan MacKinnon for the Colorado Avalanche. 6 shots on goal last year in the game 6 against Dallas. Now, the Avs lost that game, but it's not because MacKinnon didn't shoot the puck enough. 6 shots on goal in that game against Dallas. I'm going to go not only over his 4.5 shots, but we might do a little small ladder on the 6 and the 7 shots as well. Because Nathan MacKinnon's going to shoot. It's a must-win game, backs against the wall at home. And this guy's as competitive as anybody on this Avs team. So I think definitely he's going to be a guy shooting the puck early and often tonight. All right, Matt, I know you can't wait. I know you're excited, anxious. I'm sure a lot of different emotions. What do you think here, Dallas, Colorado?
Yeah, what else can you ask for? It's been a great series. I think if you're in Dallas's shoes, if given the opportunity to win the series in 6 games, you'd take that any day of the week, given their injuries, given how the series started, everything like that. Definitely don't think the series is over. It's a series that I feel like every game, it's until the handshake happens, I think it's gone back and forth. I've heard a lot of different, sports cappers and radio guys, after game 1, Avs are winning in 4, then Dallas wins a couple in a row, and it's like, maybe Dallas wins, and then Colorado comes out with a dominating performance. So I think it's a tough series to cap. I think, to me, the few factors that I'd really look at this game is, can Blackwood reset and go back to those first 4 games? He let in a couple goals. It's not that he was terrible in game 5, but he let in a few goals that maybe he'd like back. Maybe some doubt starts to creep in. That's why, to Alex's point, I think if you're Dallas, if you score early, Blackwood starts feeling, maybe I'm not the goalie from those first 4 games. Maybe, I'm not ready for this. The team starts panicking. They're gripping their sticks harder. We saw the tweet today, Val Nichushkin's breaking sticks over the boards at pregame skate, which you almost never hear of in a playoff series for sure. Maybe a team on a 8 or 10 game losing streak, or a guy that's gone 15, 20 games without a goal. But to see that in the playoffs at a pregame skate, not a day off practice, just a pregame skate is fucking wild. So I think if you're Dallas, you come in with the same mindset as you did game 5. I heard from Duchesne on the ticket. He said it was the most calm he's seen that locker room going into a playoff game since he's been in Dallas, which I thought was interesting. A 2-2 series, they're at home, but it's weird that it was such a light vibe, but, they came out and played really well in the first. They did have a couple bounces, but they leave the first period up 2-0. I think, if they can get into that position tonight, I think it's going to be a tough road for Colorado, because they're going to be in full pressure panic mode. And then on the other side, Colorado is going to try and do the same thing. Backs against the walls. They're going to try and play like game 4, shooting everything, test Ottinger early. The one thing I will say about the game 4 comparison, because I've seen, hey, if the Avs play like game 4, it's going to game 7 100%. I think that's probably the worst the Stars have played, including that 7-8 game losing streak in the last month or so. Outside of Jake Onger, as a team, they were terrible on Saturday night. So I think if the Avs play as they did in game 4 and the Stars bring their A game, it's going to be a hell of a hockey game. So, yeah, with all that being said, I have 0 bets on this game. I may have a couple props that I'll mention in a little bit. Part of that is I just don't have a feel for this. There is some value on Dallas plus 160. I like the value. Part of that is just superstition. I had 0 bets on Monday night's game and got the outcome that I hoped for. I had a bunch of bets on Saturday's game, won a fair amount of those bets, but didn't get the outcome that I was hoping
So Matt
for.
subscribes to I don't bet the Stars, better chances for them to win. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one, I don't need to have money involved to feel some emotion. So
no, that's for sure.
I'll be looking to watch this game, but yeah, I think Dallas has a fair chance to close out the series, and I think Colorado could absolutely push game 7. So this will be an exciting one.
It will. Yeah. And as far as props, that's my favorite prop, McKinnon. Shots on goal, 100%. That being said, Devon Taves to get a point is a real nice plus price, and he's gotten a point in 2 straight. And especially at home, I find he gets involved a little bit more from the blue line. So Devon Taves, I know Makar obviously is a candidate, but don't sleep on Devon Taves. He's got that ability to get involved as well. When you're looking at goal props here for this game tonight, I still think when you look at the line combinations here going into this game, Brock Nelson starting to shoot the puck, his shot prop, maybe to get on the board with a point or a goal or an assist, whatever you prefer. We'll see if Big Val Nichushkin losing his shit in the morning skate and breaking his stick leads to a good performance, but he's always a threat in a game like this. Lehkonen is still, a little bit undervalued compared to Nathan McKinnon and Marty Necas, in that top line role. And then for Dallas, Mikko Rantanen, man, in Colorado, a chance to help finish his old team, finally getting going lately offensively, and saw it with a great goal, finishing off a great feed from Rope Hintz in game 5. I wouldn't argue with that. Marchment, Duchesne, and Seguin. Now, the question is on the road or against a Colorado team with their backs against the wall, can they produce? But, I think any of those 3 are a threat. And the one that I trust for Dallas, because I think this kid just shows up and he's great on the road. He's been great on the road. Wyatt Johnston, man. On the road, this guy shows up. I can't explain why and how great he is like that at such a young age. But I find he actually is more relaxed on the road and even better on the road in his career, especially in the postseason. So Wyatt Johnston would be someone that if Dallas is going to have a hand in ending this series tonight, and not have it go to game 7, I think there's a damn good chance Wyatt Johnston has a say in it here tonight for the Dallas Stars. All right, there we go. Dallas and Colorado. That's about it. Let's move on now to LA and Edmonton. Final game for this Thursday night. Edmonton Oilers minus 170. Home favorites. 6 the total, shaded to the over. 3 straight wins for the Oilers after a 2-0 series deficit, and twice the Kings had leads in games 3 and 4 in Edmonton and could not close the deal in either of those games. And that's what's hurt them. And then, of course, the ridiculous moronic display and management of his bench from Jim Hiller, which is playing certain players on the 4th line and on the D 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes in a game, and wearing out, especially the older veterans like Kopitar, Doughty, Edmondson, the guys that are a little bit older. And I said, this nonsense, I was worried going into game 5, it's going to show up in the LA Kings play, this ice time nonsense and just the discrepancy. And man, did it ever show up, didn't it? Look at that game 5. They had nothing in the tank, no legs. They were in their own zone the whole night. 46-22 the shots in favor of the Edmonton Oilers, all because coach doesn't know how to play his players properly in terms of minutes. And now they're up against it. And if I didn't think they had their legs in game 5, how am I going to trust LA to have their legs tonight? in game 6 and having to travel again with just one day off again, between games. I mean, it's difficult. That being said, this price is getting a little nuts. I mean, Edmonton minus 170, still a team that's, without Ekholm and Calvin Pickard, and there's still questions on their D. And now they're laying a price like this because you compare this price to game 3 and 4 in Edmonton, and it's pretty amazing to see the difference. Edmonton was only laying minus 135, minus 140 in game 3 and game 4 of this series. This is a 30 cents more expensive price, minus 170 here. So there's definitely some value on Los Angeles, but I'll be damned if I'm betting this team pregame until I see how they come out of the gate. If it's stuck in mud, slow as molasses, stuck in their own end, no gas, no legs, LA that we saw game 5 early in game 6 tonight, then there's no chance I'm going to move on LA in game. None. Zero. But I want to wait and see how it starts. This is a team that's now got a win or their season's over. This is a team that's lost 3 years in a row to Edmonton in this first round. The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak is a real concern, though, for me. Yes, LA wants desperately to win this series. They hate Edmonton. They're sick of losing to Edmonton. They thought they were going to do it this year. Home ice advantage, one of the best home records in the league. And, of course, they lose the big home game in game 5. And they look tired. And it reminds me of the Lakers last night in the NBA. I know it's a different sport, but similar thing. J.J. Redick playing LeBron and Luka in that series way too much. And not enough from the bench. And look at what happened. They had no gas left down the stretch against Minnesota Timberwolves last night, and out they went. And I'm worried about that same shit happening here tonight for the LA Kings. So I'm going to take LA to score in the first because it's the angle coming off a loss. Obviously, we're on that, but that's it. I got to see how LA I want to see the energy level of this Kings team before getting involved further than that early in this hockey game because I got to see it. And the way Jim Hiller's mismanaged this bench, it's got me very, very concerned. There's no question about that. Obviously, I'm on the third period over empty net goal in every game. You guys know that tonight. I'm on second period over pregame in this game because the second periods have been nuts. All but one of the games have had 3 goals or more in the second period. And even the second period, and we still got the second period over 1.5 in the Game 5, Oilers and Kings. So the second periods have been crazy high scoring in this series. So I do like second period over pregame, and I'm going to dabble in the full game over as well, even though we finally had a bit of a lower scoring game last time out. That's the approach for me. LA first goal. Everything else we do will be on the BetCast side or total. Alex, what do you think here? Game 6. And plus, I don't need to bet the Kings more than that. Trust me, I'm already invested heavily in them to win the series, and that's not in good shape right now. I don't need any more Kings than I need. Thank you very much. Alex, what do you think here? Kings-Oilers, Game 6.
Yeah, a couple people have DM'd me, and I think someone even mentioned it or asked in the Patreon chat a couple of days ago. What should you do if you're looking to hedge out of a situation where you have a lot of LA futures tied up? As someone who has a lot of money tied up to LA futures, here's what I'll be doing tonight. I like Edmonton to win this game. I'm betting Edmonton minus $1.05 to win in regulation. I'm going team total over 3.5 at plus 108 at FanDuel. I'm also going team total over 4 plus 155 at BetMGM.
Wow.
I like the empty net goal plus 115. I like Oilers to score the empty net goal at plus 290. And I'll be looking for in-game full game over. I'll wait for that 6 to drop to a 5.
That's hitting the abort button on the mission if I've ever heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Hiller has his head stuck so far up his ass that even if he's able to correctly balance his 4 lines tonight, like you said, they won't have any steam left. I could see the Kings coming out guns blazing in the first 10 minutes. Maybe if you take LA to score in the first 10 minutes, and that'd be about it. But then I could see it being all Edmonton the rest of the way. Edmonton by margin in this one, and like I said, we'll be adding in on things in the BetCast as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of me deep down inside that thinks this could be an Edmonton run out tonight, especially if we see the lethargic, just nothing left physically, exhausted Kings team that we saw in Game 5 the other night. That is definitely a concern, and that is definitely something to keep an eye on here, BetCast-wise, tonight in this game. Yeah, as far as just quickly on props, Evander Kane over 2 shots makes sense. He's gone over 2.5, three straight games, and you're getting great plus money on that. No doubt, the Nuge over 1.5 has gone over in 3 straight for the Edmonton Oilers. No doubt. I am going to the prop that I'm going to focus in on most tonight for goal for LA is Foegele. Foegele had a breakaway in Edmonton earlier in this series, and Pickard stopped him. But he's been very noticeable in the games in Edmonton, and I think he's still, if he'd be the one guy, I'd take a shot with scoring tonight for the Kings at a good value in this game. So Warren Foegele, as far as a goal prop for sure in this one, yeah, the Kane over shots on goal is very strong because he's been shooting the puck a lot, and I've been impressed with Evander Kane. The more and more this series, he hasn't played all year. You know how tough that is, and you got to come in the Stanley Cup playoffs and play your first games of the year. He has provided a big-time boost for the Oilers, and this version of Evander Kane is a huge plus for them. Now, I'm still worried about this blue line. If they get past L.A., especially, we're going to have to see if Ekholm's back for the second round if they get past L.A., but if they don't have Ekholm, I'd be way more concerned about Edmonton in the next series without Ekholm. But again, let's not jump to conclusions, and let's not get there yet. Let's see if they can finish off LA first here tonight in Game 6. Matt, what do you think here, Kings Oilers? And you know what? Matt's got to run in a few minutes, so what we'll do is we'll get Matt's thoughts on Kings Oilers, and then we'll go right into getting his bargain bin and best bet right after that. So, Matt, what do you think here, Kings Oilers?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, this is one that I also don't have a ton of feel for. Just because, I mean, the easy play here is Edmonton closing it out at home. I'm not going to lay minus 170 on the off chance you get some desperation out of the Kings. You get, a different Kings team than we've seen in the last 2 games. I'm not expecting that to happen, but is it that crazy that it does happen? Not at all. I feel like this game or this series could go back to LA, tied 3-3. This series, and again, this series is kind of aligned with the Stars Colorado series from a timing and dates perspective. So I haven't watched as much of this series as maybe some of the other series that fall on the other nights and things like that. I've obviously seen the crazy comebacks and the high scoring affairs, but yeah, it's just seemed like a weird series where 2 games in, and I thought LA was gonna cruise through this series. And then, now here we are, Edmonton can close it out at home. And I think they do, but just not a lot of feel for this game. I do like the over by Fekta. I think there's going to be some goals early and often. I think, as much as LA would prefer, if they are going to play and win this game, prefer like a 2-1 type game with not a lot going on. It's just not very feasible against an Edmonton team. You've got to be able to score some goals. So I'm going to jump on the over by Fekta. But that's really it for me. It'll be interesting. I hope that there's a Game 7. As much as Alex had mentioned on Twitter that he thinks it's handshake night, of course, every hockey fan wants Game 7s. If we take away the betting factor, the value, what we've got, nothing better than Game 7 hockey. So I do hope that some of these series extend. Obviously, there's some series that I hope in tonight, but yeah, it's hard for me to side with LA after what we saw the last 2 games and the time on ice factors and things like that. I hope they push it to 7 so we get a Game 7 on Saturday. But yeah, I just don't have a feel. So I'm just going to stick to hoping for some goals and hoping that I get updates while I'm watching Stars Colorado. And it's 3-1 after the first. There's some crazy goals that'll be exciting to me.
I just saw I got a plus 110 with Oilers team total over. And of course, we got this money line on LA in the vicinity now of, what is it, plus 150. 152 is as good as I can get with that. If you like Edmonton, take the team total over. Don't take minus 170. You take the team total over because 3.5 is plus 110 in some spots. And they scored 4 more in both home games in Rogers Place, Game 3 and in Game 4. So that's definitely the way to go if you like Edmonton to finish this series. That's the best value you've got. I'm going to take that Edmonton team total over 3.5 plus 110, and I'm going to dabble ever so slightly in the LA plus 150 because the way I see it, LA is either winning or Edmonton's going to romp and they're going to get at least 4. One of those. If Edmonton win, they're not winning 2-1, 3-1 Edmonton, in my opinion.
no,
If Edmonton
no.
wins this game, it'll be like 5-2, 6-3, 6-2, something like that. So I think, and they're both plus money. One of them hits, there's profit. So I'm adding that pregame. Oilers team total over and smaller on Kings money line. Hit one of those, profit. Simple as that. And then as far
I was gonna say correct score 6-3 Edmonton, 60 minutes, 34-1. I might take a shot with that.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. The correct score prop, no question. But yeah, definitely. And then as far as look, I'd like to take some LA shot props, but again, this is a team that didn't get many shots in game 5 because they were tired. I want to see if they're actually got some energy. But if I were to take some shot props for them, Kempe's at the top of the list. Moore's been pretty good lately as far as getting opera. Fiala's, of course, as well. Those would be some of the ones I would look at here for the Los Angeles Kings. There you have it, guys. A shout out to the chat. Hit the like button. Matt's got to run, so we'll go right to bargain bin special of the night, and then best bet for Matt Robinson. Of course, he'll check in for a little bit tonight on the Betcast with us. Looking forward to it, of course. Can't wait. Bargain bin special of the night, Matty. What do you got?
Yeah, great show, guys. Looking forward to popping in tonight. Probably I'll be intermittently, but can't wait to see you guys. Definitely going to be having some beers tonight. I'm supposed to have a men's league game, but quick hard out on that one. So not for a game 6 or a game 7, but no. Yeah. So as far as bargain bins go today, as I'm sure you noticed, don't have a lot of strong feels about tonight. Think it's going to be a fun, exciting night. Hopefully there's some live looks and things like that. But, per usual, I didn't see him in the chat today. Unfortunately, Bailey's not here to hear a Dallas Stars bargain bin, but, got to stick to my guns, stick to the team I know. And it's a guy that he had 3 shots last game. I saw his shot prop mentioned in the chat is actually plus 300 for 3 or more shots, which is kind of crazy. But he's a veteran guy. He hasn't scored yet in this series. I'm seeing it at plus 450. Give me the captain, Jamie Benn, to help Dallas get it done in game 6. I think if Dallas gets it done, it's going to be veteran guys that are getting on the score sheet. And I know he's not really a traditional, or I shouldn't say traditional. He's not a top goal scorer at this day and age. He's taken on a deeper role, but he still plays with guys like Wyatt Johnston. He's still going to get chances out there. So Jamie Benn, anytime goal, plus 450. I'll take that as my bargain bin tonight.
All right, Jamie Benn for Dallas, bargain bin special tonight. And best bet, Matt, what do you got?
Best bet was tough. I kind of debated between two games. Again, didn't have a lot of deep feel for tonight's games, but it's hitting 3 games in a row. I'm going to head to Alex's current hometown of Minnesota. Give me the first period over between Minnesota and Vegas. The last 3 games, it's been 3-2-3 in the first period. Just need 2 tonight. Both teams hoping to come out. One team wants to close it out and grab a beer with Jack Eichel. The other team wants to push a game 7 with a chance to close out a game 7 in Vegas, which would be a pretty fun place to win a series. Vegas, Minnesota, over 1.5. That'll be my my best bet for tonight's game.
There you go. Vegas, Minnesota, first period over 1.5 for Matt Robinson, which is 5-0, by the way, in that series so far. The first period over. Every game's gone over in the first period with Golden Knights and Wild. There you go, Matt. Good stuff. We'll let him run. He'll be back with us tonight on the Betcast. We'll see you in a few hours, my friend.
All right, sounds good. Good luck, everybody, and good luck on the rest of the show. Cheers, guys.
There he is, the one and only Matt Robinson with us. All right, again, Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you're a subscriber and a member of our Patreon page. That's the only way to tune into the Betcast and join us live on the stream. What a night to have a live Betcast with 4 elimination game 6s. Cannot wait. $10 per month. Patreon.com/IceGuys. Access to tonight's live Betcast and all the future Patreon exclusive live Betcasts for the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Plus, you get all our bonus content, goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Be there for the Betcast tonight. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping us going long term. $10 per month at patreon.com/IceGuys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got caps, we've got T-shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got mugs, we've got all the items you need right now. good time to get some nice clothing for the summertime as well. So take advantage right now at the Ice Guys store. That's iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Hey, Alex, have you checked out the latest with the great trading platform Kalshi?
Yes, I have. It's been fantastic. This is one of the first and only federally regulated prediction markets in the U.S. And if you're looking for odds for all kinds of different things, not just what we're talking about, the markets in the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, you can trade crypto. You can look for trades within the markets involving entertainment, politics. There's all kinds of different markets you can look from, and you can use the odds over at Kalshi.
Time of year to get involved with Kalshi. Certainly if you're a sports fan, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, baseball now underway, with all the different markets to create winning trades. Make sure you're checking out all that Kalshi has to offer.
Absolutely. And if you're trading with Kalshi, use the link kalshi.com/iceguys. You trade $100 or more, they will send you $10 back. So it's fantastic to use. Like I said, any kind of markets beyond sports. We're talking entertainment, politics, crypto, basically anything you want.
So make sure you sign up, kalshi.com/iceguys. Note that it's live on Robinhood and available in all 50 states, making it the first legal place to trade on these kind of events nationwide. Check it out, kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys, and kalshi.com/IceGuys. Check out that excellent trading platform, sports, and a whole lot more. All right, bargain bin special of the night. You heard earlier from Matt. He's going with the captain, El Capitan, Jamie Benn for the Dallas Stars to find the back of the net. Alex, bargain bin special. What are you liking here tonight?
Let's head out to the Battle of Ottawa. And I know, like I said, we need guys like Matthews and Marner to step up if Toronto's going to win. But I think one guy who's been a key piece in this series, and I think he'll come through tonight, is Max Domi. You can get him anytime goal scorer at plus 650. Best price available at BetMGM to get on the board tonight. So we'll go with Max Domi. Anytime goal scorer plus 650 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe they will advance to the next round. That's my bargain bin special for this Thursday night.
All right, Max Domi, and been a little quiet in this series, but I remember down the stretch in the games against Boston last year, even though they lost that series, he played solid in the closeout games, the elimination games. Max Domi plus 650 for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night is also I got two. One of them is from the Toronto-Ottawa game, the Battle of Ontario. We're going back to an old friend, Hungry Nyes, 1 goal from you, and I can't describe him. Matthew Nyes, plus 320, currently available at Bet365, just enough to make the grade as a bargain bin candidate. I trust him to show up. Who knows with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, but I trust Matthew Nyes to show up tonight in this big Game 6. So Matthew Nyes has already scored multiple goals in this series for the Leafs, plus 320 for my first bargain bin special of the night. My second one, we mentioned it earlier, Los Angeles, Edmonton. Don't know about the Kings. I'm worried. They've lost their chance to win this series, and I'm not overly confident they win tonight. But Warren Foegele at plus 400, I'm taking it for the LA Kings to find the back of the net. So Warren Foegele, the Fogue Daddy, one more time, plus 400 for my second bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Oftentimes you hear parents threaten the kids when they're acting up, says, if you don't calm down, I will turn this car around. We will go back home. Now, I don't have any kids, but I'm certainly turning the fucking car around and I'm going back home. And that's the approach I'm taking here with the Edmonton Oilers. I like them here to win in regulation, minus $1.05. I will also have a whole list of other bets that you'll be able to find on patreon.com/iceguys. But the moral of the story is we're getting the hell out of Dodge. We're cutting our losses and trying to get all of it back here with Edmonton. And I believe it happens tonight with a victory. So give me the Edmonton Oilers in regulation, minus $1.05. It's my Thursday best bet.
There you go. Edmonton Oilers in regulation for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet, this is a bit bold because this is one of the teams on the card tonight that have not had a lot of success in either winning series or staying alive, you name it. And no, it's not Toronto. I'm going with them. I feel in my heart of hearts, Minnesota's not done tonight. And I'm taking the Minnesota Wild plus 145 as a best bet on this show. We are going back to Sin City for Game 7 in Vegas. They've played too well in this series, too competitively. They've had games where they've had a chance to win, and they've fallen just short. Now, the concern is back-to-back overtime games that you've lost, Game 4 and Game 5, getting off the mat and finding a way. But as far as value is concerned, there is no question in my mind there's value at this price with Minnesota. And you just got to hope this is one of those times they step to the plate and get the job done. Game 7 coming in Vegas, Minnesota plus 145 for my best bet here for this Thursday Stanley Cup playoff slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, looking forward to this exciting night coming up here on the Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast, Patreon exclusive. Cannot wait. Again, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you sign up before then. Patreon.com/iceguys. And we hope to see you tonight for the Patreon exclusive Stanley Cup playoffs betcast. 4 Game 6s, elimination style. Elimination Chamber, as Rico said in the chat. That's what it feels like tonight.
Yep.
To use that WWE reference. Cannot wait. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night, and we'll be back in 3.5 hours, 7 p.m. Eastern, with the Patreon exclusive live betcast and another edition tomorrow of the Ice Guys, 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday, right here on the Ice Guys.